Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Before I start, I want to echo some things that went out this morning to Heather, May, Mary, our faithful AV crew, our catering. We'll hear more things as the week goes along, but this is one of the things that I enjoy mostly about OCB. It's such a well-oiled machine and wouldn't happen without them. So thank you again for hosting us. Generally, this update is given by Dr. Paula Bontempi. I'm sure most of you have noticed that I am not Paula. It's going to be the hair. I don't know. No, it's a lot more than that. Paula was named Acting Deputy Division Director for Earth Science as of April of this year. She begged me to please say hi to everybody. She misses her community. She's still very much involved with OBB, but she had to fly to Rome for a joint ISAT, UMETSAT, and NASA meeting this week, and so she was asked to bow out of OCB, which really, it was not her choice, but she's going to do what she's going to do. And for those of you that know Paula, know that this is great news for the entire Earth Science community because she is really going to push science forward in her position. It is an acting position, so she'll be there for the next 12 to 18 months. That was her tasking. So in the meantime, she's still very much reachable. She still thinks about OBB day and night. So she's just stepped away a little bit, not gone. I'm going to go through, obviously I have slides because I wouldn't be able to do that without slides. I'm going to go through a couple of updates on budgets that NASA has received, and then I'm going to walk you through a couple other things that have to do with the Decadal Survey and just OBB in general. So numbers are there. The FY19 budget was slightly more favorable to NASA than the FY18 budget. PACE, which was, it's one of the missions for OBB, it was threatened to disappear in FY19. It was fully funded. But in the FY20 budget, as consistent with other budgets, it is threatened again. So we'll see what happens with that decision. We're very hopeful that it's not going to get canceled at this point. It does have a key decision point in August, which makes it really interesting because if the budget doesn't get resolved before that, key decision point is still going to go forward. So we're just going to have to wave our hands in the air and see what actually happens. Other than that, it still shows a little bit of an increase, which does not necessarily mean that it is spread across the agency evenly. We were given the tasking to go to the moon now before going to Mars, and so there's a little bit of debate on how that is going to affect research and applications and Earth science in general. But we take things as we go, and the divisions talk amongst each other. So it's an ongoing process. So we'll see how we actually come out of that. But as I said, even though there is, so obviously the present budget is a decrease. The House and Congress have, they fight amongst what needs to be the final numbers. But so anyway, we'll keep you posted. Stay tuned. I mentioned the Decadal Survey, and I'm sure you've heard about this in other venues, and also you've heard about it here. It was released a year and a half ago almost. It provides the next kind of roadmap for NASA Earth Science for the next decade. It supports the program of record, which is what was outlined in the 2007 decade, which includes PACE. The 2007 Decadal Survey was more of a laundry list of missions. This is more of a kind of observable priorities. And so out of that, there were 5 designated observables, which I'll show in the next slide. But the most important thing is that NASA has taken this Decadal Survey and we're working on developing what the missions that are going to answer those observables will look like. This is not a black box process. This is something that is open for the entire community. In fact, we've been trying to give, we give the centers monthly. I think we went to bi-monthly. Anyway, we do with the centers, we do regular calls, and we also do calls with the entire community. And the next call is actually slated for July 11th of this year. So if you're interested in hearing where we are with this process, if you're interested in asking questions or anything like that, please tune in. This is a WebEx, so you can call in and you can ask questions. And we'll send that information out as it becomes available. If you want more information, there's a website at the bottom of the slide. And you can go there, and we're revamping that website. It's a little poor at this time, but it'll get better. So as I mentioned, those are the observing priorities that were identified. Probably for this crowd, the most important one is the surface biology and geology. Let me try this. I don't know. Anyway, so which is the second to last in this list. And then there's the aerosol cloud convections and precipitation, which actually got combined into one mission. So those two are probably the ones that are most relevant for this ocean community. Then we had the surface biology and geology meeting. It was an all-hands meeting a couple of weeks ago. There are 4 different working groups that have been developed. There's an applications, the algorithms, the CalVal working group, and then the modeling group, which is going to look at what architectures are the best to answer, basically to get more bang for the buck. However, out of that meeting, it was very clear that the aquatic community needs to get more involved. So if you think this is something that you'd like to participate in, if this is something that you want to have a say in, or you just really want to understand it better, please come talk to me. We will send an email out as soon as I get my act together to everybody so that you guys know when these, when the calls are happening, what kind of working groups are there. But we really need the aquatic community to speak out and be at these meetings if we really want to have an impact on what kind of architecture gets selected for these missions. And these are going to provide observations for the ocean community and the aquatic community in general, for years to come. So it's kind of a big deal. Okay, so that's that for the Decadal Survey. Oh, and the ACCP mission is also moving forward, and that is also an opportunity for you guys to be involved. Though in the schedule, SBG is anticipated to fly before ACCP. So what's happening with ocean biology and biochemistry? There was an advanced science plan that was drafted back in 2007, and that has been kind of something that OBB has been using to guide the research. In 2015, an updated advanced science plan was started to be drafted, and that is still ongoing. It's been a phenomenal work. A lot of you have been involved, for which we're extremely grateful, because it has taken a little bit more time, which is not necessarily the community's fault. A lot is on us because it took us a long time to review it. That we're still changing some things. And one of the things that happened, the Decadal Survey was released, and so some of those things need to be taken into account for the new advanced science plans. And we definitely want it to be actionable, so we really want it to be perfect. So hopefully that'll be finalized this year and released to the community. In terms of field projects, NAMES, which is the North Atlantic Aerosol Marine Ecosystems Project, and CORAL, which is the Coral Airborne Laboratory. Those two were Earth Ventures suborbital missions, and both of them are coming to an end. NAMES looked at processes in the North Atlantic with a coupled aircraft and ship campaigns, 4 of them actually. In Coral, and they wanted to understand changes in ecosystem and how that connected with atmospheric processes. And in Coral looked at combining hyperspectral airborne measurements with in situ measurements to understand coral reef processes and forcings. So as I mentioned, both of those are coming to an end after many years of great science. I'm not really going to talk much about them. Who in the audience is involved in NAMES? So we got a few people. So take a look at those people. If you have questions about NAMES, please reach out to them. Is there anyone that's been involved in Coral in the audience? So I don't see any hands. So if you have questions about corals, their data, anything, come ask me, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. We also have exports, which is in the middle of getting done, and it's going to the field hopefully next year. I'm not going to talk about exports because you're going to get it straight from the man, Dave Siegel, shortly after me. I'm not going to talk about paste because you're going to get it from Ivona, who knows more about that than I do. And I'm not going to talk about Arctic colors because you're going to get it from Maria later today. So what am I going to talk about? I'm going to tell you a little bit about roses, our solicitation that goes out annually. And I'm going to mention something about ocean worlds just in one slide because I'm out of time already. So for the NASA opportunities, there was a change from the fellowships, which were called the NESFs, and now they're called the FINES, which is Future Investigators in NASA, Earth, and Space Science and Technology. It's a mouthful. So this is the first year that we did finest. They're going to be annual solicitations from now onward, and probably going to be under the ROSES Omnibus, which is released annually around February. These are not fellowships anymore, so now people are, the students are now future investigators, and these are grants. So we had our first round. It was a little bit delayed because of furlough, so we appreciate everybody's patience. And there's a link here that takes you to the awardees, which were just selected, I believe, last week. In the current ROSA solicitation, there are a couple of things that you might want to pay attention to. The carbon monitoring system has already closed, and that actually was looking at furthering the CMS work that has been done in past years, but there is a focus in the current solicitation on land-water interactions. So those proposals are in, and we're going to be conducting evaluations in the next month or so. The IDS solicitation, the interdisciplinary research, is coming up. That is due in November. There are 7 topics, which you see here. These slides are going to be available. This is public information, so you can go and see that. If you have any questions on any of this, please come find me. I'm here all week. The ISAT 2, so for any of you that are doing any work related to ISAT, so finally the ISAT 2 data have been released, and so that means that the ISAT 2 solicitation is on the street, and that you have the proposals due are October 8th. And ISAT is specifically designed to look at ice and canopy, but it has applications that could be relevant for oceans. There are 2 PACE relevant competitions in the ROSES between 18 and 19. One of them has already closed, which is the PACE system vicarious calibration, and so that those proposals are in. They're undergoing review now. The one that remains open and that has a deadline of July 15th is the PACE Science Team competition. So if you're interested in being part of the science team, come talk to me, ask any questions that you have. The point of contact for those is still Paula. Paula manages PACE. So if you have any questions that I cannot answer, or if you just want to reach out to Paula directly, please do so. Don't forget that there are 2 rolling submissions always on ROSES, the rapid response and the topical workshops and symposia. If you have any questions on those, come see me. Rapid response focuses on rapid response, so something that is happening imminently, or like totally, blow me out of the water science. And topical workshops is just as the name suggests. So remember, that's where you find all this information. If you have any questions, find me. In 2020, we're anticipating to competing again at kind of a broad ocean biology and biochemistry call, and also carbon cycle science, which we lost that line of money, but we don't want to kill it, so we're trying to figure out how we're going to keep moving it forward. And finally, this is my last slide, and I'm sorry, Kathy, I'm eating up your time. There's a desire from within the entire Science Mission Directorate to have more interdivisional work, and so one of the things that Earth Science is doing is working with planetary science. Planetary science is pursuing the ocean worlds, and so pretty much everything that they do trying to model different ocean worlds is based on Earth science, and so we're working closely with Mary Wojcik and other folks in planetary to see how oceanographers can participate and can actually cross-pollinate some of the work that they're doing. So more information on this hopefully soon. There is a solicitation that it's anticipated to hit the street, which is the Interdisciplinary Consortia for Astrobiology, and that hopefully will be released sometime in July. And I think that's it. Thank you. Sorry, Kathy. What? Okay. Do you want to? Oh, so if you have any quick questions,
I do,
yes.
But I don't even
In the
need
past,
them.
every 3 years, you have carbon cycle science, 2013, 16, and this year, not there. You mentioned that quickly.
Are you still considering maybe next year to put it back, or?
Yes, and that's what I meant. It's how we're doing it is going to be TBD. Generally, Carbon Cycle Science brings together different agencies. So we've had NOAA in the past participate, USDA, DOE. NASA had a line that was specifically devoted for Carbon Cycle Science. That's going away, but we don't want to kill it. So we're looking at the different programs that actually made up Carbon Cycle Science to kind of scrap the pot and see how much money you can come up with to do a general call. So we're very hopeful that we'll be able to release Carbon Cycle Science next year. TBD. Thank you.
It's not here.